Let's talk about his nephew, who's running for president right now, RFK Jr. Right?
Sorry about that.
Ted Kennedy's brothers. So many Kennedys. Ted Kennedy had many brothers, one of whom was president of the United States, John F. Kennedy, one of whom was Attorney General of the United States, Robert F. Kennedy. And that man's son is RFK Jr., who's now running for president of the United States. So many Kennedys, so little time. And RFK Jr., or RFK J, as I call him, is polling at, it's like 10, is it 20%?
15%.
It's like,
15.
it's almost 20%. It's almost 20%. I mean, that's amazing. That's where Ron DeSantis is. I mean, my God, think of it. That's what a strong challenge he's posing on the Dem side. But the party, of course, will squash him like a bug. They won't let him debate against Joe Biden, who clearly is the front runner and has got some 66% in terms of being the next nominee. We'll see. I mean, it's not that anybody's rooting for this, but something could happen to Joe Biden. And if RFK Jr. were challenging Kamala Harris, we might see a very different reaction from the Democratic National Committee and Democrats writ large. I don't know what could happen, but the answer is anything in politics these days. So he's getting more and more traction, and people are taking a closer look at him. And I know you guys are not huge fans, I think it's fair to say, of RFKJ. So I would love to talk about this with you because I don't know that much about him. We did a very challenging interview, which we've touched on a little bit with you guys, on his stance, not in particular on COVID vaccines, but more his vaccine skepticism on a larger scale, the questions he's raised about the MMR vaccines and, sort of bigger vaccine questions. And then we did a deep profile of his personal life and his life as a Kennedy, which was actually really interesting. Anyway, you guys, I'm Matt Welch. I read your piece not long ago talking about how you think people are sort of missing the story on RFKJ, these new Republicans who love his anti-Fauci stance and his anti-military industrial stance. You might be missing a few things that are relevant to RFKJ and also the fact that he's running as a Democrat for a reason, as some of these prior positions make clear.
He's got a career as a dot connector. Which is the friendly way of saying conspiracy theorist. But I think actually and he's used that phrase. I think he even used that phrase on your show. He's like, Megyn, I'll connect some dots over here about why Tucker Carlson was fired by Big Pharma, which I went and wasted a lot of time to look into just because as the exercise, okay, it might be plausible. Let's look into it. And it was bonkers as an accusation, I think.
Why? Why?
Because
I want you to let you finish your point, but just why do you think that's bonkers?
It rests on a conversation that he allegedly had with Roger Ailes, with whom he had a really interesting, weird relationship. They made a TV show together or worked on one in the mid 1970s. It's bonkers because there's no other reporting anywhere to suggest this. Tucker Carlson has been going against Big Pharma and talking about Big Pharma, as have several other Fox anchors before, during, and after the time that Tucker Carlson was fired. Literally the same week. The accusation from RFK Jr. was that Tucker finally crossed this line that you cannot cross in American politics to say that pharma is this malevolent force that influences too much in media and they kind of dictate and call the shots and make people write about or broadcast things that are pro pharma at every step. Okay. So if he crossed that line, how is it that all of these other people who work at Fox continuously cross the exact same line, and that Tucker had crossed that line several times in the past and it was never a problem? Meanwhile, you have all of these other absolutely contemporaneous things that are factors, very potentially plausible factors in Tucker Carlson's separation with Fox. There's no evidence to support it. Even the amount of advertising that Fox News gets from Big Pharma compared to other people or from Pfizer and people who had skin in the game in terms of the COVID vaccine is not as much as other networks. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't pass Occam's razor, and then all of the supporting evidence that you would think that would bolster that evaporates upon contact. And this is what happens repeatedly when you look into Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s claims about anything. And I've only looked into about a half a dozen of them. They just dissolve. He made two different, completely long accusations about who really killed Martha Moxley, because it obviously wasn't his cousin. And one time it was definitely going to be these.
Wait. I know who that is, and you know who that is, but a lot of our listeners will not have any idea who Martha Moxley is. She was a little girl who was killed. This is the problem with
RFK. I have to learn things about the Kennedy family, which I've spent my entire life
this
trying
is a fascinating,
not to know anything about.
This is a disturbing and fascinating crime, but I love true crime, and I think a lot of our audience knows that. But Martha Moxley was killed in the early 1970s in a Tony suburb of Greenwich, Connecticut. And it was said, and ultimately this person was tried, that someone related to the Kennedys did it. Michael Skakel was the name of the boy who was ultimately, later as a man, arrested and convicted, but then the conviction was thrown out years later for the crime. Skakel is part of the Kennedy clan. Skakel's mother was, okay, hold on, I'm trying to remember. So RFK Jr.'s mother is Ethel Kennedy. But her maiden name, RFK Jr.'s mom, who married RFK, her maiden name was Ethel Skakel. And her brother is the father of Michael Skakel, who got accused of killing this young girl. So they're first cousins, is the bottom line. RFK J and Michael Skakel are first cousins. And Michael Skakel, who was 15 years old when this little girl got beaten to death the night before Halloween in this suburb by a golf club. They didn't make an arrest for years and years. Ultimately, as like a grown man, got arrested and tried and convicted, and then ultimately was thrown out, and they chose not to retry him at that point. He'd already served, I think, 10 years. Go ahead.
Yes. So bludgeoned to death, brutal murder, golf clubs, Halloween night, I think it was. And so he wrote, and Bobby Kennedy and him were very good friends, very close growing up. And I get defending your cousin and also thinking that he didn't do it. What I don't get is that he wrote a 2003 Atlantic magazine piece about 50 trillion words long, as he tends to do in his pieces that eventually, in many cases, get retracted by their original sources. And in that piece, he accused...
Let's talk about that. Because there was one infamous incident with Rolling Stone, which we can get into, but I don't know what other ones you're referring to.
Salon.com.
Salon too, yeah.
Same. That was the same. That was same reporting.
What's that?
Salon.com had the same retractions based on the Rolling Stone piece. So that's all one incident.
I believe there's two incidents. One is vaccine related, and then the other one was about the election being stolen by the GOP in 2004.
2004, okay.
Which was eventually retracted by Salon.com. I think that's the chain, but both of those things were heavily contested at the time, and either a series of corrections and then retractions afterwards.
Okay, but I will say for the record, the big one that people use against him is the Rolling Stone article, which came out about whether vaccines have any role in causing autism. And everybody uses that and says, Rolling Stone had to retract your big article. And we took a deep dive on that before he came on. We looked at the 4 things that led Rolling Stone to withdraw or retract the article. And I think two out of the 4 went in RFK's favor. If anything, they had understated the risk and they corrected it after the fact. So that, and the others did not get to the central piece of whether vaccines could play any role in autism. I'm not saying vaccines cause autism, for the record. I will just give you my opinion as a reporter and somebody with no dog in this hunt. When I looked at the Rolling Stone correction that had been cited by everybody to discredit the guy, I was like, this is it. This is the stuff that led to the retraction of this article. I'm not persuaded. So anyway, okay, got it. And the Salon thing, he did claim that the 2004, not 2000, 2004 election was stolen by the GOP. That's a different story. Keep going.
Yes. So you looked into at least one of those. I've looked into like 4 of them to my satisfaction, and everyone should have their own sense of satisfaction. But there's other people who've reported on the Martha Moxley story who've retraced his reporting, as they did in the Salon.com in the 2004. People who had covered the election irregularities or alleged irregularities in Ohio, which is where his thing was based on. And there's a pattern in each one of these cases. When there's a local reporter who has been covering the same exact things, then retraces his steps, I have found every single time that I've looked in it, and that his steps are terrible. He takes shortcuts constantly. He leaps to conspiratorial conclusions. He connects dots. That's what he does. And so I, as someone who is a journalist, I don't have a campaign to discredit RFK. I think it's ridiculous that anyone tries to deplatform him. I think YouTube kicked off a Jordan Peterson interview with this week. That's ridiculous. Don't do it. I think he should be at debates. I'm grateful that he's running. I think more people should run, and that if more people ran, he might not have 15%, or maybe he would have more. We don't know. I think deplatforming is wrong. I love political competition. Trust me. I'm just looking at this from the perspective of someone who's interested in journalism more than I'm interested in how mad I am at the elites and people who.
Okay, but let me ask you this. I take all of that, and I know you're good faith on everything and always super researched and well-informed in your opinions. But I will say that what I see people doing with him is they just take like their favorites and they tick them off. Like they'll say, oh, vaccines cause autism, which is not what he said. He said that our children are swimming in a toxic stew. And I think the vaccines may play some role in causing not just autism, but ADHD and tics and all these other things. And we can get into all of that. That's what we did the long episode on. Are they playing some role? What's the evidence of it? And we got very, very deep in all that. But I think there's sort of from others like a laziness to just sort of tick these things off. Whereas some of them, like I could debate the Martha Moxley case with you. I think Michael Skakel did it. 100%. I think Michael Skakel killed Martha Moxley. He was a weird guy. He was said to have done animal torture. Hello. All those people turn out to be killers. He was jerking off in the trees, watching her. I mean, that's, yes, it's the whole thing.
Happy birthday, Mom.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
But RFK J said he had a witness, a friend of theirs, who said these two guys came into town that night and that there were quotes from this other guy. His name was Tony Bryant. We looked it up. And this former classmates of Michael Skakel's, Tony Bryant, said, I know that he didn't do it. I know who actually did do it. These two other guys. He named them. He described their direct quotes and how they were focused on Martha Moxley and how they killed her. Now, I don't believe it, but I don't think it's a conspiracy theory for RFK J to say, this is a credible guy and I believe him and I know that my first cousin couldn't have done this. Ladies, do you see those dark spots in the mirror? You want help making them go away? Introducing the Dark Spot Corrector from Genucel, just in time for the summer. The Dark Spot Corrector, with not one, but 3 cutting-edge ingredients, goes to work fast to target sunspots, dark spots, liver spots, and even old discoloration, both on your face and your hands. You can now enjoy your summer sun, beach, and barbecues without those pesky spots. With Genucel, you will see results or you will get your money back, no questions asked. So go to Genucel.com right now. Get your dark spot corrector with the new Genucel Most Popular Package, all their best stuff, and now featuring summer essentials like the best-selling Ultra Retinol Moisturizer with a powerful retinol alternative for safe use in the summer sun. Genucel.com/MK60 for these amazing summer essentials and save over 70% off. 70% off their most popular package. Free shipping, free returns, excellent luxury skincare, all at 70% off. Genucel.com/MK60, GENUCEL.com/MK60. All orders include a mystery gift while supplies last. Genucel.com/MK60. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.